Hey guys, it's Coach Zane here, and in this video we're going to be explaining the programming environment that EV3 Classroom has. So what exactly is the programming environment? This is essentially the space where you're going to be doing all of your work with regards to making the robot move, programming your sensors and your motors, and defining functions. So before we actually begin programming our motors and our sensors to move and to make the robot do missions, we have to first explain where we're going to be doing this work, and that's what we'll be covering in this video. Let's head over to the computer and discuss what's going to happen. Okay, so this is my home screen here. As you can see, I've already got EV3 Classroom installed, and if you can go back to the previous video if you want to know what exactly programming is, and I've got a link there to download the software. So make sure you have the software ready to go and we can get started. So I'll just click it and we'll let it open. So EV3 Classrooms, it's actually a pretty quick software to open. It doesn't take too long, maybe a few seconds, and we'll get started. So currently I'm running version 1.1.1, which is the first version. So there may be updates in the future that change certain parts of this, but the basics will stay the same. So you don't have to worry too much about the future-proofness of this video. It should stay the same and constant. Okay, so this is the programming environment that opens up, and this actually isn't where we're going to be doing all of our work. As you can see, this is just where our projects are lined up. And EV3 Classrooms works in such a way where you can create multiple projects that do multiple things. So for example, if you have one segment that's programmed into one project, you can open up a new project and program another segment. So in the future, we'll be talking about how to collate these different projects, but for now, just open up a new project, and when we do that, we see this screen right here. And this screen is where we're going to be doing almost all of our programming. So the first thing we need to discuss is clicking this all code blocks. So EV3 Classrooms has simplified things a little bit. So if you click this all code blocks, then you should see all of the code blocks which will come down in the future. The next thing I want to highlight is this blank space right here. Now if I drag my mouse around, you can see that the when program starts block actually moves around. In future, we'll see that it's not actually the block that's moving, it's the environment around it that's moving. Sort of like how if you were in a car and the car next to you starts moving forward, it sort of seems like we're moving backwards. In the same way, we're actually moving the screen as opposed to this block here. But you don't need to worry about that too much for now. So what is this when program starts block? Well, as we explained in the previous video, programming is simply a step of instructions. So naturally, we need to have a logical introduction to that step of instructions, which is where this when program start blocks here. And I'm going to simplify this and just call this a start block in future videos. So we have our start block here, and then the next thing we're going to notice is we have this panel of tabs here. So there's a blue tab that's called motors, purple for movement, dark purple for display, and so on and so forth. I think there are approximately about 10 tabs, and if you click through them, there are many different blocks that we can use. And as you can imagine, different blocks do different things. So in future videos, we'll be talking about these tabs individually, and I'll only be explaining the important parts of EV3 Classrooms. So there's actually quite a lot you can do in EV3 Classrooms. You can use it as a calculator if you wanted to. You can do things that have nothing to do with the robot. But, as you can imagine, that isn't very efficient for our purposes. So in the next few videos, I'm just going to be explaining everything you need to program an FLL competition robot. Okay, and I'm just going to now explain how we actually program things in. So you don't need to worry about what these do. We'll cover that in future videos. But for now, you just need to think of these blocks are your step of instructions. So if you want to make a motor run, you can pull this one out. After this block is finished, you can then pull another one out, and so on and so forth. So you can hit this one, and right now this program doesn't mean much, but all this is going to illustrate how programming is just a set of instructions. It's going to do this block, followed by this block, followed by this block. And if you want to delete blocks, the way Scratch works is you have to click the second last one, and then the last one. So you have to click always the one that's below the first one, and then you can separate them. You actually can't separate these any other way. So if I try and move the top one around, it's not going to go. You have to click the one below and then the one below. And if you want to delete a block, you can just hit backspace. And if you want to re-get a block, or if you made a mistake, you can see there are these arrows here. So if you want to go back, you can just hit that one, and that's going to undo. If you want to redo something, just hit redo here. The otherwise is you can use Command Z or Command up Y. That's for Mac. Okay, so now I'm going to explain essentially how EV3 Classroom works in terms of connecting your brick to the EV3. So there are two ways you can connect your EV3 to the program. And just for a bit of understanding, essentially what we're going to be doing in EV3 Classrooms is writing out a set of instructions. And then we need to figure out a way to deliver that set of instructions to the robot. And as I mentioned, there were two ways to do this. The first way is with a micro USB wire. This is going to connect to the laptop and then to the EV3, and you can just hit download and then you can run it when you're ready. The second way, and probably the more efficient way, is to use Bluetooth connectivity. And to do that, you can just hit this top left button here. It's called connect. And once we do that, there's going to be a set of instructions that pop up. And all you need to do is go through them. So once you turn on your EV3 brick, enable Bluetooth, and then once you hit this connect button, your Bluetooth system preferences or settings is going to open up and you can just easily connect your brick there. Once you do that, you're going to see your EV3 brick will be connected and there will be a line of tabs here, and that'll just list where your motors and your sensors are and which port they are in. Okay, now once we actually finish most of our programming for our segments, what's going to happen is we're going to have a bunch of start blocks. So for example, this is one start block here. We're going to have a lot of programs in here. So if you ever need to zoom out, you can just use this magnifying glass here. And if you ever need to zoom in, you can do that. If you ever get lost, for example, if I just scroll outwards, and you can see if I'm a little bit out, you can just hit this reset button and it should come back into frame. Now the last thing I'm going to explain is how these blocks actually work. So if a block is not under a when program starts, this block right here will not do a single thing. So if you ever need to experiment, for example, if you want to sort of create your program before you want to run it, you can create it on the side, and then when you're ready to run it, you can then connect it back to the when program starts block. And likewise, if you have a program out here, the robot will just run what's under the when start program block, and it will not run these two blocks over here. The reason for this is because there can only be one chronological start to the program, otherwise it can be a little bit confusing for the robot where to start from. So make sure you have all of your programs under the when program starts block when you're ready to run it. Okay, and that is essentially the complete programming environment of Scratch. As you can see, it's actually very simple, and this is designed for you so that it's very easy to program your instructions onto the robot quickly and easily. In future videos, we'll be going over this motors and movement tabs, as well as the control tab, sensors tab, and the operators tab. Everything else you can sort of do yourself. For example, the display and sound tabs, that's not really important for competition purposes. Likewise, we'll be doing variables and my blocks, so that is important. So in future videos, I'll be creating different series and we will go over all of these blocks in specific, and you'll know everything you need to know to program your FLL competition robot. That wraps up this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.